It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me. Craig, shut up.
Hey, I need you guys to do these things.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So it's Reality Check with Craig Price. This week, Phil Gerbyshak talks about entrepreneurship. Thanks for listening. As many of you know, I am a member of the National Speakers Association, and as I prepare to get ready to head to Philadelphia this week for their annual convention, I started to reflect on how I got into this weird, crazy business. And for me, I sort of fell into it. It wasn't on my radar until I was asked to speak in public, and it certainly wasn't a young Craig Price's dream, doodling in my notebook ways I could get hired by associations and companies to talk about negativity. But for some, it was. And I think learning how to make the transition from worker to entrepreneur, which is what speakers are, can be a bit daunting. And my guest this week, Phil Gerbyshak, is going to tell his story and how he made the switch without burning bridges. And I'll be honest, I've burnt some bridges in my day, but it was really so those people couldn't follow me. I feel fairly sure the few bridges I've torched are bridges I really never want to cross again, and ones that I certainly don't want the villagers on the other side to come over to see me. And, we'll see if it bites me in the butt in the future, but, we'll see. But Phil brings a great, honest, and realistic approach that I wanted to share with you, with any of you sitting in a cubicle right now trying to plan your escape. I think he has a real good, practical, and honest way of doing that. But before we do, I want to mention a couple quick things. I'm still looking for listeners to call in to record any messages for the 100th episode. It's just around the corner. In fact, today I've been testing out the new mixer that will allow me to have 5 guests and myself do a show at the same time. I had a few technical scares, but I think I've got it worked out, and the guest lineup is falling into place. It should be a very entertaining podcast, and I hope I can make it as special as possible, because I want to make sure that you feel it's a special episode. So call 281-668-8948. Again, that's 281-668-8948, and get your message added to the podcast. Also, if you're going to the NSA convention this year, be sure to join the Cigar Peg. It's a great way to give back to the community. It's a great way to network with some heavy hitters and some not so heavy hitters like myself, more of a singles hitter, but gets on base a lot. You can unwind with a cocktail or two while at the convention. It's a really great way to network and donate to speakers. So go to cigarpeg.com to learn more about it. But take it from me, it is the highlight of the conference. Another thing on the agenda, I would love it if you took some time to go to iTunes and give the show a 5-star rating. Even better, write a review. It would certainly help, and I would certainly appreciate it. And finally, I am appearing on the Shut Up Show, hosted by today's guest, Phil Gerbyshak. It's a video blog, not a podcast. It's a video podcast kind of situation with him and his co-host, Bernie Xiong, and you can find it at theshutupshow.com. I'm told it goes live today, and I talk about podcasting, what I've learned interviewing, and the 100th episode. So check it out, and I think with that, I will shut up and let you listen to today's guest, Phil Gerbyshak. You've got one of the weirdest resignations I've ever heard.
My 2-year notice, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you gave a notice for 2 years.
Yes, sir.
2 weeks is kind of like the norm. So
Yep.
why 2 years? What was the reason for giving that for 2 years?
Well, I knew my job was incredibly hard. I knew that it would take some time to train someone up. And I also felt confident that I kicked ass at what I did, so that 2 years would be about the amount of time that would be right to give my boss, because we'd always talked about how, you're not leaving tomorrow, are you? We joke about that. And I said, no, I'll give you some notice. She goes, well, you better give me a lot of notice, because, you're going to be tough to replace. And I said, well, that's very nice of you. Thanks. I said, well, I will. So it wasn't until my end of year review was actually in October. And she asked me what was next. You want to be CIO, you want to be a director, you're going to be a trainer, you want to be an advisor. Because I worked at a financial services company. She's like, what do you want to do?
So what were you doing for the financial services? Let's give a frame of reference. Were you IT? Were you?
That's right. Yeah, I was a VP of IT. But what that really meant was that I did. I worked with legal and compliance on a lot of the technology type stuff. I'd work with marketing. I would work with our wealth management team. I would work with our e-commerce team. I worked with operations. I got to work with all the different divisions and really kind of liaise between all of them because I was the IT guy that spoke English.
You were the Rosetta Stone.
That's right. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I was that guy.
I've been in that position myself where you speak geek, but then you can also talk to a human being.
That's right. Yep. And I did that for a long time. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. But there came a time when I realized that it was time to do more and make a bigger impact in the world.
So when you give a notice that long, was there any? Now, obviously, your main boss, your initial report that you were he obviously was okay with it because they probably was relieved. But was there any animosity amongst anybody else in the company? Because it would seem like if people know you're going to jump ship because of experiences with other people, they may think that you're going to goof off or rip them off or do something awful because most people give 2 weeks, so 2 years seems suspicious.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody believed that I was really leaving. In fact, I know that's true because about 9 months later, I was running the PowerPoint that I helped put together to reorganize our IT department. And when my job came up, there was a big blank spot that said Phil Gerbyshak interim. And many people, again, even though I was running the PowerPoint, knew that I'd written books, knew that I'd done speaking, knew that I'd done training, knew that I'd written tons of articles, knew that I was growing my business, gasped. And you could literally feel the air just being sucked out of the room like, oh, all this air.
Someone got yourself
like
that time.
That's right.
You got yourself there a little bit.
Yeah, I sure did. So the air got sucked out of the room. And my boss even said, hey, you guys know all this stuff. And she basically went through what I just went through. And so Phil has decided that he wants to do this full time. So we're extremely excited for him. And still people didn't believe that I was leaving or didn't believe that I was doing it on my own accord. It's so bizarre. It's like, seriously?
Yeah, because it does seem strange to give that much notice and then still be around to talk about it. Because normally people, like I said, give 2 weeks, and if they don't, they usually escorted out of the business with a box full of their goods, even if they're not dangerous, but just because that's it, we're just done. And so it's very unusual for this kind of situation to happen. And for those of you listening, I'm here with Phil Gerbyshak, who is a social media guru. He is just an amazing guy who's been able to take his corporate life and the way he left corporate life was so smooth and so cordial. Can I say that word? Is that
Sure.
I think it's important we talk about how not only how you left, but how you were able to gear up for a business. Because I think a lot of people are stuck in that situation where they're working their job and they have dreams of being something else or doing something else, but they don't know how to make that switch. So you decided I can probably do it better or at least be happier or do what I want on my own. What did you start to do while you were working that allowed you to make the transition easier?
Yeah. So if we flash back to 2006 or 2005, really, I started writing online. I started blogging. I wrote for MilwaukeeJobs.com. I wrote for other places. I would interview smart folks like Bob Berg, folks like people who I respected, people whose articles I'd read. I started going to conferences, started really making that gentle transition towards more things. So in 2006, I published my first book. I'd written about 50 or 100 articles for my blog. I had started using LinkedIn and Twitter, really early days of them, and started really working hard to serve other people in my network. So whenever I would have a meeting with someone, I would ask the honest question, what can I do to help you grow your business? And it became really clear to me that two things were true. One, technology is confusing. Technology is confusing because people don't know really what it can do, so they don't even know what to ask for. And I learned that in corporate America. That was clear, but it was even more clear when I asked them, what can I do to help your business? Because a lot of times they'd be like, well, I don't even know how to add an email signature to Outlook. I don't know how to create a voicemail greeting because all my voicemail greetings suck. I don't know I don't even know how to format, or I don't know how to do this or that technology related. I don't know how to use Microsoft Word. And because of my background, I was able to ask the question, so what are you really trying to accomplish here? And I was then able to find the simplest solutions. So that's the first thing I learned. And the second thing I learned is that marketing is also confusing. And especially the shift that was happening in marketing from being really vomit on people, barf information, hope and beg and pray that they're going to buy your crap and click your junk, to really more of a relationship economy.
Well, before we get to that, the blogging and all the conferences, and now, was this in coordination with what you were already doing for your job, or were you taking time? Because it sounds like it's a lot of time, but aren't you supposed to be working?
That's a great question, Craig. So I would take as much time outside of work as I could to work on my personal business. So I was blessed that I had 20 days of vacation a year. I was fortunate that I had already been working 70 to 90 hours a week. So when the time came that I wanted to do my own things, I was able then to scale that back just by a few hours and really feel like I had a lot of time on my hands. So I didn't sleep a whole ton. I spent all of my time working on my business. And I had an agreement with my boss that said, some days I might come in a little bit late. Some days I might leave a little early. I'll get back on after hours and take care of anything that needs to get taken care of. But you have to know that I need a little bit of latitude here. It was a really, really strong relationship where we were honest enough to say during the day sometimes I might need to take 30 minutes out because that's the only time that Craig Price has to talk on an interview. It might be 3:30 on a Tuesday.
How do you bring that subject up to your boss? Because I think that's what it's great if you have that relationship, but to make that initial approach can be very scary for people, even if you have a good relationship with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think the relationship matters. I think the other thing that you have to really understand is that you have to, first of all, be really good at what you do. I won awards for what I did in corporate America. My team was awesome. So I produced the results that I promised I would. I assured my boss that things wouldn't slip, and they didn't slip, and that's really important. That's probably the number one thing, is that I worked kind of in a results-based organization. Now, certainly there's FaceTime. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I could, have done those, stayed at home and done my own thing. But I really focused on the results and the outcomes. And as long as my team continued to be awesome, and as long as I had that dialogue with my boss, over time, she saw the maturation of my business. She saw when I started a blog, and they didn't even understand what a blog was. They saw when I started Twitter, they didn't get what Twitter meant. They saw what LinkedIn was. And so I would take my experiences that I had outside of work and actually bring them back, instead of the opposite being true, where I was moonlighting. There was no crossover, no conflict of interest in what I was doing to what I was. So I was an IT manager by day, and I was a marketing guy and a technology kind of trainer, but not selling technology services, but helping people understand them.
Now, do you think it's easier because there was that differentiation?
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of people end up basically leaving their jobs to do the same thing for themselves, and I think that's where they get themselves into trouble and don't have that smooth transition out.
Absolutely. I totally agree. If you're going to be stealing your company's clients, you don't get 2 years. If you think that you're going to use their resources to start your business, if you're going to even use their copy machine to make your copies, you are absolutely putting yourself at a conflict of interest and a big risk for your boss saying, heck no, you're done, take your stuff, get out now. I never did that. I made sure that there was a clear non-conflict of interest. I talked to my boss about it all the time. I made sure that they were okay with it. I explained what I was doing and how I was doing it. And when I had a day off, they were cheerleading me, go to Washington, D.C. and go teach a class, go to Seattle, go to Portland, but never, ever was it a conflict of interest. And again, I was honest and forthright in those conversations.
Well, I can think that's the key is, I think I said a lot of people get caught up in the fact that they try to weasel their way using the company copier and doing things like that. And it's really, you have to make sure that ethical line doesn't get crossed. And it can be fairly easy to cross that, especially making copies, because you think, oh, I'm just making a copy. But no, you're using their resources, their electricity, their machine, their all that stuff.
That's right.
And so that's why I wanted to bring that up, because you did it. What a lot of people can't do it that way, but they should do it that way, and that is the correct way of doing it. So
correct.
You made the relationship. You told them ahead of time. Now, did you just like sit them down and say, look, this is what I'm doing now. I'm going to try this marketing thing out, but it's not going to interfere. So kind of walk through that conversation, so if someone else has the same thing, they have at least a little bit of a template they can use.
Sure. So, well, the first thing was, and this is before I even broached the conversation, and that is I made sure that I was really good at my job, that there was no holes. And I think that's really important, because that really is step zero. If you're not really good at your job, that you don't deserve to have that. So secondly, the conversation went like this. Hey, boss, I'm working on a book. Oh, okay. So book being insert your business here. I'm writing a book. Oh, good for you. Okay, cool. All right. Well, when I'm done, would you like to see it? Yes, I would. Great. So fast forward a year. Hey, boss, here's my book. Oh, cool. Really neat. That's great. So what are you going to do with that? Now we open up next conversation. Okay, well, I just want to let you know when I'm taking days off, sometimes I might need my short notice. I'm not looking for other work. I am working on my business. So I'm not leaving you. That had to be really clear. I am not leaving. When I take short notice, I got a gig. I got a client to call me. I am not cheating on you, basically. So that was really, really important as well. So continuing that trust. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I got a headhunter that called me, I told my boss, hey, by the way, so-and-so called from such and such company. I'm staying here. Just want you to know, just very clearly. Because
headhunters talk to each other and companies talk to each other. And if someone's looking for in that industry, sooner or later they're going to know, I'm surprised they didn't call Phil. They must be calling Phil. So the fact that you tell them that puts them a little bit more at ease.
Absolutely. So being honest. And then, of course, at the time, back in 2007, 2008, they didn't really know what a blog was. So I had to really break that down and explain what it was. And the scheduling of posts means that sometimes those posts would come out while I was at work.
But that didn't mean you were goofing off.
That's right. It didn't mean I was goofing off. And I would show them. I would sit right next to them 15 minutes before that, and because they enjoyed my work and they wanted to keep up with me, they would then get that email at 8:30, and I'd be like, look, I was sitting right next to you. That post was scheduled last night, 2 weeks ago, a month ago. It went live at 8:30. I've been at work since 7 a.m. And then it would just continue the dialogue of, as we got closer, that wasn't the first year end that we talked about it. We just had a very open dialogue about the trajectory of my career. And I said, well, now is not the time. I appreciate that, but it will probably be next year. And then it was next year. I'm giving you 18 or 24 months. I'm leaving. I would be, and her response was quite simply, that means you get to do everything you're already doing, plus find your replacement. So I did.
You became a headhunter.
That's right.
Now that you get this, now I wouldn't call it an extra burden. It's more of, now if you had found someone earlier, would you have left earlier?
No, not at all. In fact, I did find someone earlier. She just didn't work out.
But I mean, if you had found someone and they had worked out, would you have, you were sticking to that 2 years no matter what? Or was it just that was the 2 year maximum?
No. Well, it was 18 to 24 months. So it ended up being closer to 18 than 24. But no, I would not have left, because I gave my word that I was sticking around, that I was not leaving, that they had my full attention every second of the day that I was at work for kicking butt at what I did, unless I had something scheduled, in which case then I would shift my attention there and then shift it immediately back to work. And I did not multitask. I focused.
So at what point did you really, once you decided you were going to leave, were you like, this is going to be it. I've got to start getting my business ready. So what were you doing to prepare for your business as far as I'm going to be doing it 24 hours a day without them? The safety net, the infrastructure. What were you doing while you were working to get that prepared?
Well, first of all, I saved as much money as I could. I put it in my 401k and I left it in cash. I didn't make it aggressive. I put as much money there as I was able over the next 2 years. That was the first thing that I did. The second thing that I did was I bought a domain, I set up email, and I really, really made sure that I kept things extremely cleanly separated between work and play. I started an LLC so that I had a legal business. Because I worked at a financial services company and I was a registered representative, I was required to disclose the name of my LLC and how much money I earned and such to my employer. So that was very clear, as well as the nature of my business, to make sure, again, that there was no conflict of interest. Other things that I did, I set up a bank account. I found FreshBooks for invoicing, and I really started really focusing on that network and asking that question again: what can I do to help you? What can I do to work with you in a way that would bring enough value to your business that you would eventually pay me? Because I wasn't as much worried about getting paid as I was about adding value to other people's lives. So I had a capital infusion. I had money. I had a job. I was a VP of IT. I was able to save money, and I tried my best to slim down my life, to avoid and eliminate any distraction and any wastefulness that I had. Now, was I successful? Probably not as successful as I could have been in that, but I think that's important as well, is just be intentional. Decide what you want. I mean, I cut out having a home phone. That was important to me. $50 a month. I cut out, the max cable that I could have had. That saved $30 a month. I decided that even though I'm a tech guy and I would love to have the fastest internet possible, I slimmed that down and saved $30 a month. So things like that, where it made sense, I was able to reduce or eliminate an expense.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's important that people hear this, because a lot of the times people who want to become speakers or trainers or business owners, they're told, well, you just got to quit your job and start this, or you're never going to do it. And it's not that easy of a transition, because a lot of people, that's how they end up going bankrupt, because they do just quit everything and then start from scratch, and they don't have it as thought out, or you were in a good position. But I think it's important that people know it can be done like this, where you can actually make a segue instead of just an abrupt end and then you're starting your entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I would never encourage anyone to just jump. I don't care how passionate you are about something, just jumping is stupid advice. You have to have something in place and some thoughts around, how am I going to make this transition successful?
So what was the big shock when you finally, that last day, you said on Friday, you said, this is it. Thanks for the 2 years. I'll definitely keep in touch. I'll probably end up being one of your vendors. And on Monday, what was the big difference? Did you feel a big impact? All of a sudden, now you're on your own?
Well, I expected, first of all, that I would be training and speaking more. And I promise this connects to your point. So 2 months before, though, we had a project that I'd been working on for 2 years that finally got green-lighted. And they said, no, well, we know you're going to leave, but we'd really like it if the extra time that you have when you're not servicing your clients and you're not doing stuff, if you would come back and consult. So they came to me and decided they're going to keep me on for another, 3 to 6 months, part-time, my schedule, my terms, pay my rates now as a consultant to do my own thing. So that was a big, that helped the shift. So really, my last day, I was actually the senior manager on the floor. This is going to sound really weird, but I swear to God, it's true. I got to keep my BlackBerry. They didn't shut off my card access. My email still worked. I was basically that employee that never left for 6 months. So after that, when it finally did get shut off and I finally stopped getting a paycheck, it was weird, man. I'm not going to lie. It was really weird. And I woke up and I'm like, I don't have to go in there anymore. I don't have to drive downtown today. I'm working from home and I don't ever have to go back. And it was a big shock. I spent the better part of 10 years going up and down an elevator to the 26th floor every single day, parking in pretty much the same spot every single day, having lunch with my best friend, who was one of my peers, every single day. And then to go from that to
I don't have
on
to.
your own.
I don't have to get out of my pajamas, and I can just go to work over here 5 feet away.
Yep, and it was depressing. I'm not going to lie. I suffered. I proud the next 90 days were extremely hard for me. I'm a very, very social person, and not going and doing the same thing and connecting with the same people almost killed me.
Well,
I'm not going to lie. It was
like
tough.
It's like taking a wild animal. Not that you're an orangutan, but it's taking a wild animal and then putting him in the zoo. They're now isolated, and that social engagement is gone. And I think people forget how important that is, because that is one of the biggest complaints and biggest things I hear from people in our industry, speakers, about how isolating it is. And it's not just for speakers, it's for people who run their own business in general. They think, I'm going to be making all these sales calls, but it's still, that's 10, 15 minutes on the phone, but then you still got 7 hours and 45 minutes with yourself.
That's right.
So what did you do to get out of the funk?
Well, I realized that I couldn't work from home. I needed to work from a coffee shop, or I needed to find an office. So I worked from a coffee shop for about a year and a half. And then my new office space where I work now out of, it's a co-working space called the Hudson Business Lounge. That's where I finally landed as an office, and I settled in there because co-working means you don't get the same spot every day. So I still got the variety I craved, but it's a place to go, and there's a ton of collisions that happen that I can talk to. There's a pastor that's out of there. We've got a pharmacist, marketing people, graphic designers, speakers, trainers, interior designers, entrepreneurs, tech startups, you name it. We've got 230 members. So I get to collide with those folks every single day. So I went from no contact, depressed, really sad, to full contact back where I was. So now I'm back in my element. I now am back in the wild, if you will, and really kicking butt. So I just had to accept that working from home was not a good option for me.
Now, this is the one thing, I'm glad you brought this up, because to me, it's being someone who doesn't like to be in coffee shops. Explain how that works on a daily basis, because I always go in there and there's 90 people on their laptops and there's 4 people drinking coffee. So just give me, for some of us who work in corporate life or don't go to the coffee shop unless it's for coffee, how does that work on a daily basis? I understand how it works on an individual, like one day, but if you said you did it for a year and a half, so how does that work? Because that's mind-boggling to me.
Sure. Well, I would split my day into two. So the morning I might go to one coffee shop. I'd get a cup of coffee, maybe some breakfast, and I would put my headphones on. Even if I didn't turn any music on, I'd put my headphones on and I'd work. And I would make calls, I would Skype, I would video, I would write, I would tweet, I would LinkedIn, I would do all the stuff that needed to be done, respond to emails, send out emails, all that stuff. I would do that. And then lunchtime would come, and I would then often go somewhere next. Sometimes I'd have a client lunch or a prospect lunch, and sometimes not. Then I'd go to lunch, and then in the afternoon, I'd go somewhere else and get another cup of coffee or another drink, and then work from there.
But you are buying something.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
I just want to make sure people
point.
know that, because I know people who just walk in there and use the Wi-Fi for free, get a glass of water for free, and it's, like I said, you're doing exactly what you were doing. Not you, but what you would be doing is exactly what you were talking about, where you're stealing photocopiers or the photocopies, or you're multitasking at another job. You're just taking up space for someone else.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's really the key to any successful business, is stop trying to freeload off of somebody else, or stop expecting that somebody else is going to do things for you. You have to do them yourself. And if you want something or need something, you need to deserve to get it. I deserve to get my 2-year notice. People can listen to this, and I'm not trying to be cocky, but you can be jealous if you want. But if I wasn't really damn good at what I did, my boss would have said, screw you. You get 2 weeks. Smell you later. Don't let the door hit you in the butt. We'll find somebody else. Same thing with your business. I mean, the reason they loved me at coffee shops because I made sure that I tipped the baristas. I bought something every day, every time, sometimes 2 or 3 coffees, even if I didn't finish it. I would make sure that I checked in Foursquare, and if they had good service, I would share that with folks. I think the key to that is be good to people and do the right thing, and don't expect that people are going to do anything for you. Nothing, because they're not. They don't owe you crap. It's up to you to find your own success and to make stuff happen. And if you can't afford to do that, then don't leave corporate America. Don't think you're going to make it in a coffee shop because they've got free wireless, or don't think you've got a free office space and that's going to work for you, because free office space can go away tomorrow. Be realistic about what you're really doing and what you really need, and be willing to pay for that, or don't do it.
Well, before we let you go, Phil, you've got a video show. It's a podcast, but I always put videos into different scenarios because you've got the Shut Up show that you do with Bernie, and I don't know how to say her last name. Bernie Xiong.
Bernie Xiong. Yep.
Explain exactly what that is. I was just on it, and I'm still kind of confused what happened. But explain what it is about and why people should tune in.
Sure. So the Shut Up Show is really helping entrepreneurs and small businesses first quiet their brains, recognize they're not alone, that they're not doing this by themselves, and that other people have many of the same fears, anxieties, pain as you do, and they've gotten through them, and you will too. So it really is a loose format, though, because the goal is not to give you some stupid formula for how you can get through everything. The real goal is to help you feel less alone and realize there's a million ways to be successful. There's a million ways to fail. So find your path, find someone that's like you, listen to them, try it their way, and if it doesn't work, try it the exact opposite way. But keep trying and tell your lizard brain to shut up, because you are good enough, you are smart enough, and you do deserve it if you want it bad enough and you're willing to work for it.
So it's like a video support group.
That's right. Yeah, it's therapy. So Bernie and I do it for each other, and we just happen to have people like you on the show, Craig. It's really therapy for us. So.
Well, great. It's a great show, and you can find it at theshutupshow.com.
That's right.
You are also a social media guru. Where can people find you?
Well, the easiest way to find me is if you can spell my name, you can find me. It's philgerbyshak.com, GERBYSHAK.com, or just look on your favorite social network for Phil Gerb, PHILGERB. You'll find me there.
I was going to say, I'm looking right at your name, and I couldn't spell it even if I'm looking right at it right now.
That's right. So search for Phil Gerb. It's much easier. It's only 8 characters.
Well, Phil, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know you're out in the woods right now in Oregon somewhere on your Skype, and I hope you don't get attacked by drug-addled hippies, but I appreciate you being on the show, and look forward to seeing you in Philadelphia.
Thank you, Craig. I can't wait to see you, buddy. Congrats on your 100th episode.
That's our show for this week. I want to thank Phil for coming on and sharing his story. I'm off to the convention, so if you are in Philadelphia between July 27th and July 30th, let me know. If you see me wandering the convention floor, come up and say hi. I don't bite. I really don't. The show is at RealityCheckPod on Twitter. Like the show on Facebook. Email Craig at speakercraigprice.com with any comments, suggestions, or questions. See you next week.